Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Indy Pro 2000 series here on iRacing, down at Willow Springs, all the way on the West Coast. Fantastic track. You saw the TNT series race here last week for our road course race over there, and frankly, these guys are doing it once again in the official series, so hopefully our TNT drivers have a little bit of advantage this time with the extra practice they've gotten. Joining me tonight will be James Watson. As always on these Indy Pro broadcasts, Watson is an expert with these cars, a fantastic driver in the TNT
Allegedly.
series. Allegedly,
Also
yes.
allegedly.
And likes to sit and join us for these official series broadcasts. Chris Graham is not here tonight. He's down working at Martinsville Speedway down for the NASCAR race this weekend. So some cool stuff going on there. Right now at that track in the real world is the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour for their big show at Martinsville. So we wish all of those drivers the best of luck. But now it's time to get qualifications underway here for these cars. So right now we are looking at Alexander Wesley Hazelworth. He's going to be the driver of the number 2 machine tonight. We have seen him dominate on a lot of these road courses. He has gotten very, very good in the last couple of seasons. One of the top contenders now. Made his way up to driving the number 2 car. He used to be back a little bit, not too far back, but he used to be in the 5, 6s, and now he's towards the top. In front of him will be Everett Paddock in the number 1 machine. He is our top I-rated driver in the field. With a 5,600 I rating, an absolutely staggering amount of I rating there. So as we still follow along with Alexander, see if we can get an onboard look with that machine. Just look at some of the elevation changes here. I believe this is turn 1 he is going through. Way uphill, hard right-hander into one of the slower sections on the circuit. It's uphill left-hander, hard on the brakes here. Very easy to run wide into another right-hander, still traveling uphill. Almost like a roller coaster now. You come back down the hill. Really fast section here, but once again, very easy to hit those curbs, spin out, run wide. These curbs are very dangerous. You can see how high up they're raised off the racing surface. So very easy to jump one of them and get yourself caught up in the grass.
Yeah, it's one of those awesome old school type circuits, you know, runoff is for wimps. And that's what makes this track so good. It's also what makes this track only really a club circuit and not used by any usual racing series, which is a shame because this track is incredible. It's got such a tough mix of corners.
Hazelworth going quick time. Corey Hartz makes his way up to that 2nd position. Everett Paddock in the number 1 machine ends up in the 4th position so far. Mobin Khan with a fairly quick 1 minute 10.079. Why don't we take a look at the number 9 machine of Mobin Khan. Going now into that downhill section. Wes Shire in the number 12 machine is a huge advocate for this circuit. Loves these Western California tracks. Here, Willow Springs. He also loves the new Kern Speedway that just dropped. Unfortunately, I do don't believe he's a fan of the LA Coliseum, which would be a fantastic track for this little low power or low horsepower open wheel cars. Mobin Khan, though, with a new quick time, a 109.735. That's just over a tenth of a second faster than Hazelworth's best time. Carl Lemkool beating Hazelworth as well with a 109.850, just a hair over a tenth slower than Mobin Khan. Darren Fahey gets himself back up to the 4th position. Brian Labarge also on the racing circuit, finishing his second timed lap. Now, James, you've been on the circuit in real life. Are the elevation changes this drastic in the real world? Obviously, it's laser scan, but does it feel the same in the car in the sim as it does in real life, or is it a bit intimidating in the real world?
The elevation change doesn't really seem as crazy when you're in the car and going up it. It's definitely a lot bumpier than what you feel on the sim. There's a lot of, especially entering turn 1 and going through the uphill in turn 3. So you're not really feeling that at all. And it's kind of a shame because that's another big part of this track's character.
Yeah, well, you also race in a beanbag chair, so I'm not sure you're going to be feeling much of anything in way of bumps. Maybe if you fall off, I guess you wreck the car and fall off the beanbag.
I do not race on a beanbag chair. I race on a disc chair, thank you. There's a difference. The nerve of this guy.
I think it'd be better if you raced in a beanbag.
Don't tempt me, I might.
So we will get our grid ready. So Mobin Khan is going to be starting in the 1st position in the number 9 machine. Carl Lemkool in the number 5 will be starting to his outside. The 2nd row will have Brian Labarge. He made his way up to the 3rd position with a 109.881. Brian Molidor, pair of Brians on the 2nd row, will be starting in the 4th position. Alexander Wesley Hazelworth will be rounding out your top 5, and Darren Fahey will start beside him in the number 4 machine. Behind them will be Corey Hartz in the number 15 car. He's going to be the first car not faster than 1 minute 10 seconds. Everett Paddock will be just behind him in the 8th position. Behind that pair will be the pair of Jason Miller and Vincent Bardos. Cole Trexler and Wes Shire make up the 11th and 12th positions. Starting 13th will be Rod Eskew in the number 7 machine and Mike Holler to his outside in the 14th position. Simon Fell and Sam Carasala will be behind that pair. And starting 17th and 18th will be Michael Castiva and Keenan Blades. Nick Margot comes home in the 19th position, and Mike Long will be starting 20th. Gary Welch, I am not seeing him in the session, nor did he set a time, so I'm not sure we're going to see him on the grid. Might be a DNS for the driver of the 21 machine.
He's just start from pits to avoid the chaos.
So as the pace car makes its way very slowly around this racing circuit. See if we get an onboard look with the pace car. Doesn't look like he has any of the dash lights or anything turned on. Nor is he turning the steering wheel. A very odd driving car. It might have the autopilot on. A little bit of self-driving action going on for the pace car. Looking from the rear of the pace car, though, you see this absolutely intimidating field there with Mobin Khan and Carl Lemkool following right behind this pace car, and then 10 rows of cars back from them. Carl Lemkool getting a little impatient, running side by side with the pace car.
I gotta say, this is a lot longer pace lap than what it feels like.
Yeah, it is incredibly long. Last week, I ran this one not on my wheel, as my wheel is still not set up here, but with the controller. It was difficult trying to keep the car going around at 20, 30 miles an hour. As now Mobin Khan and Carl Lemkool leave a huge gap to the pace car here. Wonder if we're seeing any games going on, as they can go anytime from the pace car hitting pit lane to the green flag coming out.
Dare we say a Colton Herta start?
Possibly, as they make their way down the front straightaway now. Mobin Khan can pick any second here to hit the gas and fly away. Still waiting, holding up the field. And there he goes, he hits it off to a great start. I count 4, 5 car lengths, almost 6 car lengths now coming across the line. Field makes their way through turn 1 cleanly into turn number 2. No contact between any of the drivers just yet. A little bit back in the field, Corey Hartz and Everett Paddock fighting side by side. Looks like Hartz runs a little bit wide, able to keep it together.
Ooh, almost a bit too wide there.
Oh, and there's contact. Carnage further back in the field. They managed to keep it together, and we have a battle going on for the lead now, side by side. Another car running way wide. This is a race we saw in the TNT series. A bunch of drivers almost getting parked for too many incident points. Very easy to rack them up here.
Yeah, there's so many places to run wide on this track, you know. Oh, turn 3, even as the tires warm up, is one of the worst. You know, you're having to deal with that downhill off camber, and then you're putting up so much speed going through the next set of corners that if you're just off by like a smidge, you're going to get the sand, and you're going to get the curb, which is big no bueno.
Yeah, definitely do not want to be getting into the curb here at Willow Springs. It very quickly will end your race. Mobin Khan still trying to put a fight on the number 5 car of Carl Lemkool. Not able to get anything done just yet, but he's hanging right behind. Let's see if he makes the dive in the turn 1 like he's tried before. Gonna get the huge draft down the straightaway. There's the start-finish line right there. Pulls out to the inside. He is able to make it stick and clears him. But Carl Lemkool, oh, there's contact between the two cars.
Oh my God, he is off in the weeds. Good gracious. Wow, that sent him a long ways away.
Yeah, it just looks like the number 5 car of Carl Lemkool just gets into him just a little bit. It almost looks like there wasn't contact there. No, definitely a little bit of netcode going on. Just
That's a
spins
shame.
him. Car still looks okay, though. But we look back towards the lead. Carl Lemkool now with almost a full second gap over second place car of Brian Molidor. You can see him way back there. Molidor currently trying to fight off Alexander Wesley Hazelworth. Hazelworth making his way up to the third position now, getting by Brian Labarge. Hazelworth goes new quick time, but Brian Labarge able to fight, be right up next to him going into turn one. Now Labarge has to fight off Everett Paddock in the number one machine.
Man, they're super close to losing the draft. Believe it or not, draft is an issue here. Like, it is a good draft track. You wouldn't really expect it because it's kind of small and there's a lot of tight corners, but the draft is going to play a big factor here.
Yeah, these straightaways here are considerable, especially this downhill section. It's not perfectly straight. It's almost like the no-name straight at Lime Rock, or what is now the Paul Newman straight at Lime Rock, where you're still flat out through there. You're still trailing behind another car, even though you're not just holding the wheel dead straight. And then you have this immense front straightaway where Brian Molidor is able to get into draft to Carl Lemkool, close that gap down to 0.4 of a second, down to 0.3 of a second into the corner. He's going to go new fastest time. That lap was a 1 minute 10.020. Still not faster than their qualifying time, so he's going to make a stab for the lead going around the outside through turn number one. And that's going to give him the advantage in the turn number two.
This is not a great passing opportunity. It is, but you have to be brave.
No contact between the two drivers. Molidor sitting way back now. He has to fight off Hazelworth from behind, and these 5 cars are all caught back up. Only a second separates Carl Lemkool to 5th place Brian Labarge. Still side by side, they go single file again as they're coming down the front straightaway. Another time to get a big draft on Carl Lemkool. He's going to be the only car without a draft. Wow, fades to the inside, fades to the outside. They're looking to rewind in the one.
Oh my God, holy crap. That's not a place where you want to do that, boys.
Molidor backs out of it. Hazelworth takes the advantage. He's going to try and clear Molidor coming out of turn number one. Molidor has the advantage, though, with the speed, it seems. If he can hang on to him side by side out of the corner, he's going to have the advantage into the left-hander, turn number two.
Coming up to this last corner right here, this to me is a very difficult corner. It's one of those long multi-apex corners. If you're not careful and if you're not on your game, you could easily turn in way too late and just airmail the car off the track into the sand. And if you're just a smidge too early, you've got that nasty curve on the inside that will absolutely kill you. It's such a difficult corner to nail.
You can see all of these drivers fanning out the way different lines they take in all of these corners.
Yeah, there's no one way to take the corners at this track. That's what makes it special, is you can go any which way on the track and still have basically the similar time through it as someone else.
Yeah, this track seems like it'd be really fun, different types of club racing vehicles. Like maybe the Spec Corvette series that we feature here on NRN, or even a Spec Miata race here would be pretty awesome to see. As we have another fight going on for the lead between Carl Lemkool and Brian Molidor. Side by side into the final corner. Nope, single file once again. I keep calling this turn number 1. It is the second corner on this racetrack.
Correct.
You know, James, you can correct me if you want.
You're doing good. Just love watching them snake through this section. Such a picturesque place to watch a race, honestly.
Yeah, this is one of the tracks that I want to get down to in person and just see, especially in the countryside here in California. A bit far away from all of the cities, all the crazy action you get in California. It's just almost in wine country, right?
No, far from.
No?
Wine country. It's about, well, for the real wine country up in NorCal, it's about 7 or 8 hours south, and then you're about I don't know, maybe 2-3 hours south of SoCal wine country. I don't know, SoCal geography I'm not as good at, but it's like an hour away from LAX. Like, there is absolutely nothing on the drive out, just sand and dirt and dead grass.
So Willow Springs is like an hour east of LA.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, it's way off the beaten path. There's a couple of hotels and
oh man,
really nice
big wiggle there
too.
out of Carl Emcool.
Whoa.
Oh man. Looking again to go side by side through the final corner. If Molitor can get a big run off here, he can catch down Carl Emcool. But now he's got to contend with Everett Paddock, who's made his way up to the 3rd position. He got by Alexander Wesley Hazelworth. They're going to be 2 by 2 though, going in the turn number 1. And Hazelworth sets the new fast time. He is the first car to break into the 109s all night. We are now halfway through this race. Molitor with the fake out to the outside. So we are halfway through this race, and still we have 5 cars, 6 cars now, battling for the race lead. But the real fight is this one that is actively happening for the race lead. These guys are side by side. Molitor this time with the inside in the final corner. Can he clear Lemcool on exit? No, has to back out of it. Almost makes contact, and Paddock's going to have the run now. Oh, and Molitor's in the grass. Another car's in the grass.
Oh, God.
This almost looks like Pocono the way these guys are fanning out down this front straightaway.
Let's see what Everett can do now that he's made his presence known up at the front. He's had enough sitting behind all this.
Yep. Look a little bit further back, too. Brian Labarde's fallen back a little bit. Darren Fahey from down under is able to get up to the 5th position. Where did he come from? He was a couple seconds back before. We now look between Brian Molitor and Everett Paddock. Molitor again trying to get the outside line into the final corner. This hasn't worked out for him all night, but neither did the inside lane. So just really struggling there out of the final corner. Able to get a run this time, though. Can he get the move done on Paddock? Going to be side-by-side drag race across the line. That lap, give it to Molitor for a split second there.
Yeah, Brian did what I warned. He was just a smidge too late in his turning point for the final apex and just ran a little bit wide and allowed Everett to go right on by.
Yeah, Everett's falling back now a little bit. Alexander Wesley Hazelworth able to get up to this 3rd position. So Lemcool now has the gap up to half a second. It's falling just a little bit, but I don't think these guys are going to catch him here down this front straightaway. Maybe not. It might give Molitor a huge run in the turn number 1, and yes, it's going to. He has a huge amount of speed on Molitor. Maybe not, but the law firm goes quick time once again. That's a 109.895. Still the only car in the 109s.
He's just farming those fastest lap, man.
Too bad. I don't believe they pay bonus points here in the official series for fastest lap.
They do not, unfortunately. It'd be nice if you got like a nice little iRating bump for that.
Or even in the championship points, like get 100 extra points or something.
Yeah, or heck, even just 5 bonus points would be nice.
Once again, Molitor is going to pull out to the side, see if he can get something done down this front straightaway. That time it's still Lemcool first across the line, but he was only behind by maybe 10 thousandths of a second. Mike Holler goes quick, Brian Labarge goes quick time. So he's the second car to break into the 109s, and that's a 109.752. So as the fuel wears down in these cars, these tires start to get warmer and warmer. These cars can be going faster and faster.
Yeah, they're putting up lightning quick times. Though it's going to be interesting because tire wear is kind of an issue here. Now, granted, we were running a lot longer stints in shock, but tire wear definitely became noticeable towards the end of the race. But I don't think you're running enough laps here for it to really rear its ugly head.
Yeah, and also in the shock race, not only is it a longer stint, we had live race control and cautions. So you had heat cycles on the tires, not something we really talk about very often on the road courses. Maybe in the super endurance stuff where you're double and triple stinting tires, but normally these guys don't heat cycle these road course tires. Gonna be Molitor across the line that time, but they're gonna be 3 wide going into turn number 1. Oh, contact with Darren Fahey, and unfortunately, Brian Labarge is the one taken out in the accident.
Man, that's unfortunate for both of them.
So, I mean, you could just see it happen in front of him. Hazelworth goes wide, gets in the Fahey just a little bit. Fahey just touches Brian Labarge. Doesn't look like there's any damage on that car. Almost took out the very solid porta potty we found there in turn number 2. But he is able to continue on, going to be in the 10th position though. Five laps to go now, 3/4 into this race.
Yeah, this is an interesting little battle. Cool. Looks like they're just starting to kind of separate from one another just a bit. At the very least, down to a 4-car train instead of that big, almost the entire pack worth of car train that we were dealing with earlier in the race.
Yeah, still a lot of fight though. These top 4 cars have all taken the lead at one point or another in this race. So do you think Carl Lemcool has any fight left to go and retake the lead and try and run away from Brian Molitor at this stage of the race?
Oh, 100%. He's not giving this up without a fight. This race is nowhere near over.
Maltor runs a little bit wide. That allows Carl Lemcool to sit there now about a 1/10 of a second back. Barely off the rear gearbox of that car. Some battling going on between Cole Trexler and Mike Holler. Those two cars side by side, almost contact between Holler and Trexler. 2x2 behind them as well. That's going to be Rob Eskew and Sam Carasala. But now we take a look back at our top 4 cars. These guys still single file, and Darren Fahey's sitting there kind of on his own island. 3 seconds back from Hazelworth, 3 seconds ahead of Holler.
Oh, he's looking.
Yeah, Lemcool is there. What's he going to do? These guys are going to snake down the front straightaway. Just behind them, Hazelworth and Paddock running side by side. All 4 of these cars side by side.
Whoa. Whoa, a little wide.
They all get away cleanly through turns 1 and 2. Did they make it clean through turn 3? Almost contact with Paddock. He drops back just a little bit, but we move back to the front of the field. Still Maltor over Lemcool, but Lemcool is getting more desperate and more aggressive here in his bids for the race lead.
Yeah, and time is running out. We're only going to have 2 laps to go here next time by.
Once again snaking down the front straightaway. Snakes again. I don't like the snaking because it always feels like the car behind just gains even more ground. You see Lemcool was able to make the pass in the 1, but unfortunately loses not 1 but 2 positions. Contact now with Alexander Wesley Hazelworth. Those two still side by side, almost more contact, and there is Hazelworth's around. Paddock almost gets into him.
Yeah, that was coming. I wasn't sure who it was going to be. I just knew it was coming at some point.
Riding on board with Everett Paddock through there. Paddock does get into him. Not too much damage on that car, but he's going to be by himself there in the 3rd position. Lemcool now a full second back from Maltor. Hazelworth now having the fight for the 5th position in what was a bid for the race lead has now turned into a fight for the top 5. Brian Labarge still in the 10th position there, but right behind all of these cars, he's still the holder of the fastest lap of this race. Maybe he can make up a couple of easy positions. Going to try and get by the number 14 car of Cole Trexler, but we look back. Not yet. Only going to be 2 laps to go. Only 1 lap to go now. As we look at Brian Maltor, no one behind him, a full second ahead of Lemcool. Paddock's going to try and close the gap on Lemcool, but unless he finds a boost of speed, maybe a nitrous button, I don't believe Lemcool has anything for Brian Maltor. It's his race to lose.
Yeah, such a big gap, and we're already halfway through the lap. I'm not going to say anything for risk of jinxing.
So a fantastic battle, definitely a hard-fought race for Brian Maltor, Lemcool, Paddock, even Darren Fahey. Just about everyone that was in the top 5 at one point was incredibly hard-fought. Brian Labarge, you see, has already got himself up to the 8th position. See if he can get a couple more easy ones.
What a recovery drive.
Down in the last corner, just a little bit of straightaway left to go. Brian Maltor is going to be your race winner here at Willow Springs. Just behind them will be Everett Paddock and Carl Lemcool. Darren Fahey comes across line 4th. Mike Holler will come along in the 5th position. Whole mess of cars there. Looks like Brian Labarge was able to steal that 7th position. Cole Trexler going to be coming in 9th. Hazelworth way back there in the 10th position. So the whole field's going to give their congratulations to the number 3 machine of Brian Molitor. A fantastic drive. Kept himself clean and out of trouble, too. I don't believe he was involved in any incidents tonight.
No, he let the chaos kind of happen around him, and he was there to pick up the pieces. It was a really smart and calculated drive from him. So Brian Molitor going to burn it down. Couple of good donuts on that back straightaway. Definitely some well-earned rubber getting burned off of that car. As we get our race results up on screen, Brian Molitor is going to be your race winner. Everett Paddock out of the Midwest region going to be a full second behind, finishing in the second position. Carl Lemkool going to come home in the third spot. Another guy from the Midwest region, actually. He's from Michigan up there. Darren Fahey going to finish in the fourth position. He's from down under. Mike Holler from Illinois going to finish in the fifth position. A lot of guys from the Midwest region I've noticed in this series. Rod Eskew going to finish in the sixth position. Sam Carazala finishes seventh. Brian Labarge eighth. Cole Trexler ninth. And Alexander Wesley Hazelworth rounding out your top 10. The next group of cars will be Corey Hart in the 11th position. Vincent Bardos will finish 12th. Simon Fell, 13th. Nick Camargo, 14th. Mike Castiva in the 15th position. Keenan Blades finishes 16th. Wes Shire coming home 17th. Mike Long, 18th. Gary Welch, 19th. And Mobin Khan, 20th. Mobin Khan, unfortunately, finishes 17 laps down. And Jason Miller will be your 21st car. Unfortunately, not running any laps. Didn't make the grid here tonight. So, unfortunate for Jason Miller. But congratulations to Brian Molitor. See if we can get some guys ready up here for some interviews. And first up, we will bring in third place finisher Carl Lemkool. A fantastic battle for that first and second position the entire race out of you, Carl. Unfortunately, not able to get it done and a little bit of contact there with Hazelworth, but frankly, still kept it together and stayed up in the third position.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Really fun race. That track really blew me away with how tight it was. Kind of expecting that to be with the draft, but I was expecting the dirty air to kind of stretch us out more. But that little technical section over the top only let me gain a little gap and kind of raced a little bit like an oval with how you had to hit your marks and pick your side and all that stuff. But yeah, certainly hard racing with the contact. I'll have to take a look back at that and see if I need to send any apologies.
Yeah, it was really fun watching you guys. You were in the last corner especially. You were kind of running the lower line. He was running a higher line. And you were almost diamonding the corner a little bit, like you would at Martinsville almost. And it was giving you better runs down the straightaway.
Yeah, that maybe it looked like he had better runs, but he was still right there. So felt like no matter what, I couldn't get away. So I think that is the most stressed and drenched I've been after a race. That was intense after every single corner.
Oh, yeah, well, we'll let you cool off and hydrate here in a second, but any sponsor plugs and thank yous you want to get in?
Yeah, shout out to everyone who showed up tonight for good participation. You guys for the broadcast, and Downforce for an absolutely fantastic car, giving me the chance to win. Hate that we didn't quite bring it home, but we'll get them next time. Thanks, guys.
Oh, yeah, well, thanks for coming out. And next up, we will bring in Everett Paddock. Paddock going to finish second position tonight. A fantastic battle, kind of just snuck your way in there. Let Lemcool and Molitor battle the whole time and kind of steal that second position towards the end. How'd you do it?
That's a great question. I don't know. I got her done though. I had a lot of stuff going on there. Made a lot of mistakes. I had contact with I think 4 cars. I don't know. That was not good.
Yeah, a lot of contact basically through everyone in the top 5. I think everyone except Brian Molitor had some form of contact with another car in their battle and fight for the lead. So you were not alone. And even earlier last week in the TNT Shock race here, we had a couple cars get very close to disqualification. So a tough track. Don't be too hard on yourself here tonight. But anyone you want to thank for this race?
Well, first off, I want to congratulate Brian. I know he couldn't join you guys here. He did a really nice job of being smart through just biding his time and knowing when to pounce. Carl raced me super clean, and I want to shout out to, Darren and Alexander and Mobin are all good racers. I wish we could all been there at the end. It's good stuff.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for coming out. Adding to this grid, we had a 21-car field here tonight at a track that looked like it was going to be one of the least popular on the schedule. Still a great turnout for tonight's strength of field race.
Yeah, that was nice to see. I'm as a guy that makes some of the bad calls here on our schedule, I was glad to see that it's funny how much I like this place more than Oren, which I really just struggled with. I didn't even race it because I just I don't even like it.
Oh, man, we're going to butt heads there. Oran Park, one of my favorite tracks. But that's something we can discuss later. Why don't we let you get off air, go relax, hydrate, cool off after a fantastic race, and we'll hopefully be talking to you again next week.
All right, sounds good. You can give me some tips on how to get around that place. Maybe I'll enjoy it more.
Oh, I'm not very good at it. So that was Everett Paddock. Unfortunately, we don't have Brian Molitor here for an interview. He's going to be quite a quiet fella here tonight. He's probably out celebrating his race win. But James, why don't we get some of your opinions here, not only on this fantastic racing circuit, but on what you saw there in tonight's race?
Yeah, it showed off how great this circuit is. It's technical, but it's not ridiculous. There's still a good mix of draft and passing opportunities, and we saw a lot of amazing moves and some good hard racing. Unfortunately, some contact happened, but that's just the nature of the game sometimes. And we still were treated to an absolutely incredible win from Brian and a great race overall.
Yeah, these guys were able to fight incredibly hard here tonight. And frankly, a little more contact than we're used to seeing out of these guys, but it still wasn't too bad. I want to give a huge shout out to everyone who was tuned in on the National Racing Network. Going to run through you guys. Stephen Thompson checking in, one of our subscribers here on NRN. Thank you very much for watching. And Villamacher for checking in as well. So, we're going to head off air now. Thank you very much to all of the drivers in this series, everyone who tunes into these shows and watches, and we'll catch you next week. My name is Patrick Byrne. Joining me tonight was James Watson, and we will see you next time.